Taking the Lead, How Jacinda Ardern Wowed the World by David Hill and Phoebe Morris. Taking the Lead, How Jacinda Ardern Wowed the World by David Hill and Phoebe Morris. In a Waikato orchard, a teenage girl has her first driving lesson. It isn't an ordinary lesson. Oh no, she's driving a tractor. And this isn't an ordinary girl. Oh no, she's already going places. One day she will be New Zealand's Prime Minister. Jacinda Ardern was born in Hamilton in 1980. The family moved to the forestry town of Murupara, where her father, Ross, was a policeman. Murupara had some poor families. Jacinda's schoolmates sometimes had no shoes and no lunch. She wanted to do something about this. By the time she started high school, the Arderns had moved to Morrinsville. Her mother, Laurel, ran the canteen at the town's high school. Jacinda loved their orchard. She learned to drive there. Players on a nearby golf course accidentally hit her balls into the orchard, and Jacinda sold them back. When Jacinda was little, she had wanted to be a clown. Now she wondered whether to become a scientist, as her elder sister, Louise, would do, or go into politics. Some kids laughed at her for wanting to help people so much, but that didn't stop Jacinda. She just got on with it. Two things helped her choose politics. For a school project, she spoke to Marilyn Waring, who had been a local member of Parliament. Jacinda was impressed by how friendly and helpful Miss Waring was. Soon after that, Jacinda's auntie, Marie, invited her to come to New Plymouth and work for the Labour Party. In the 1999 general election, here was a real chance to help people, so Jacinda took time off from her after-school supermarket job. She drove to New Plymouth in her little old car and learned how to organise meetings and election events. She had lots more places to go after that, so she studied at Waikato University, then worked in Wellington for the Labour Party. Helen Clark had become New Zealand's second female Prime Minister and needed people to help with research, so Jacinda got on with that too. Next, she travelled overseas. She worked at a New York soup kitchen, serving food to poor and homeless people. Oh look, there's Helen Clark. In England, she had joined the Cabinet Office of British Prime Minister Tony Blair. She also joined the International Union of Socialist Youth. This group worked for human rights and for equal opportunities for the world's children. Jacinda was soon chosen as the union's president. She travelled to meetings in China, Lebanon, Jordan, and other countries. The young New Zealander was certainly going places. In 2008, when Jacinda was 28, she returned to New Zealand and was elected to Parliament as the country's youngest MP. Her first speech called for all children to learn te reo Māori at school and for action against climate change. Newspaper and TV commentators sometimes said that Jacinda was only a pretty young woman. They felt she wasn't tough enough or experienced enough to be a good politician. She didn't let this put off her work. She just got on with it. Jacinda Ardern wasn't only busy with politics. She performed as a DJ at an Auckland festival and in record shops. Her playlist included the Beatles and her favourite New Zealand bands. She met Clark Gayford, a keen fisherman from Gisborne and a TV and radio host. Jacinda enjoys fishing too. Even after Clark skinned a fish with his teeth on TV, he later became her partner. Meanwhile, Jacinda was going places in Parliament. Before long, she became deputy leader of the Labour Party. Then in 2017, just weeks before the election, she was made the party's leader. She spoke to New Zealanders about ending poverty, improving women's working lives, free university education, and fighting climate change. "Let's do this," she kept saying. She quickly became very popular. TV and radio commentators talked about Jacinda mania. Some people complained that she was too girly or should be starting a family, but Jacinda just ignored them and got on with her work. In the election, the Labour Party won several more seats. They joined with two other parties to form a government. Jacinda Kate Laurel Ardern was the third female Prime Minister of New Zealand and the youngest leader for 160 years. 3 months later, she and Clark announced that they were expecting a baby. "You can't be a new mother and do a good job as a Prime Minister. This is why a young woman can't be a good politician," some people said. But Jacinda kept working and going places. She and Clark travelled to England, where she wore a korowai, a Maori feather cloak, to meet Queen Elizabeth II. Prince Charles and Clark talked about fishing. And look, there's Prince Charles and Queen Elizabeth II. Neve Te Aroha Ardern Gayford was born on 21 June 2018 during the festival of Matariki. Auckland's Sky Tower was lit up to mark the little girl's birth. Presents arrived from all over the world. Clark and Jacinda kept the handmade gifts and passed others on to charity. After 6 weeks, the Prime Minister went back to work. Now their whole family was going places. At the United Nations in New York, Neve sat on her father's lap, while her mother spoke to world leaders. Politicians from many countries cooed over the tiny girl. Oh, she's so cute. In New Zealand, Jacinda and her government worked on ways to reduce poverty and helped children. They searched for ways to fight climate change. Her job means that she is usually busy from early in the day till 10 p.m. or even later. On Saturdays, she may open a fair or speak at a charity event, or meet a group to discuss an issue. On Sundays, she prepares for the next week's meetings. Sometimes she watches rugby league or cricket. When they can, she and Clark take Neve for a walk. They play with her and read to her. Jacinda gets to meet many people. She'll talk to anyone, says her Auntie Marie. They discuss peace, climate change, women's rights, and ending poverty. Sometimes people are just rude or angry. That's just part of being a Prime Minister, but some meetings are very special. In February 2018, Jacinda spent 5 days meeting people at Waitangi, where the famous treaty was signed in 1840. She was the first Prime Minister to stay there for so long. On 15 March 2019, a gunman killed many Muslim New Zealanders while they were praying at their mosques in Christchurch. Jacinda Ardern flew straight to the city. She put on a hijab, a Muslim headscarf, to show respect for the victims. She told the world that the victims were all true New Zealanders. "We are one," she said, and began some of her speeches in Arabic. Famous people, including world leaders, sent messages of sadness and sympathy. A photo of Jacinda hugging a young Somali-born woman was shown on the world's tallest building, the 828-metre-high Burj Khalifa in Dubai. In 2019, the US magazine Fortune put Jacinda on its list of world's greatest leaders. She doesn't believe she is more special than any other working parent. "I'm a mother, not a superwoman," she once said, but she hopes that the things she's done may help everyone, especially girls, to believe that they can also do things and go places. Like New Zealand's young leader, they just have to get on with it. The end. In memory of Paddles, first cat of New Zealand.